right. All right. Jennifer Spivak. Nice New York girl. You piqued my interest with your bio. We're talking to the pregame about, how much 10x, 20x that you've got me for. Those are like rarefied numbers, And I love in your bio, you say you're committed AF. I mean, that's so cool this day and age. Like you can have you say, this is a podcast. We don't have limits. I'm committed as fuck for for what I'm trying to do. And I just love it because who doesn't swear these days? And so I'm really excited to get into, you're a young girl. You had a lot of success. Excited to get into your long shot story. But I'm a nosy guy. I want to go back into the story. I want to find out what make you tick. So
let's do it. And I'm glad to know that I can curse. As a New Yorker, every podcast I show up on, I'm like, can I say fuck or not? So this is great.
It's medicinal. So there you go. Yeah. So as we go back in the corridors of time, tell us about little Jennifer Spivak. What was going on when you were like a kid? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up on Long Island. I was an interesting child. I used to throw these massive carnivals in my backyard, and my parents would be like, "Oh, that's like so cute! It's like a little thing you're playing." And I make $500 in an afternoon, and they were like, "Who is this demon child? We are afraid." So I was just really into. I was kind of weird. I was like a little bit of a loner, and I spent a lot of time creating things, coming up with ideas. I mean, when I was 6 years old, I had a notebook that was basically my plan to become the white Oprah. Specifically, that's what I had written. Those were my plans. And I had mapped out my first 100 episodes. I had done set design, just creation in my brain, 24/7 was what was going on all the time.
I love that. That's, I try to peg people before I interview them. I see the pictures and I see their bio and all that. I don't know, but I was gonna guess. Were you like the precocious kid that was acted older when they were younger? Was that you?
I definitely.
I'm good like that. I was right on that.
I think you are good. But in kindergarten, I actually orchestrated. How some kids in kindergarten will get married at recess? Mm-hmm. That was way too basic for me. I orchestrated a full-on ceremony in the cul-de-sac that I grew up in. My housekeeper, we made her wear yarmulke and be the rabbi. And we had catering and it was a whole thing, right? And this is in kindergarten. And so I've always just been, I call it extra. Your explanation made sense as well.
You see, I know my brand, and I thought you might be Jewish, but Spivak, I didn't know I don't know if it's a Jewish name, but Stein's a dead ringer. You know who you're talking to. But I was like, well, maybe she could be Italian or something, because that always throws me off, like a Mediterranean, like Greek or something. But so all right. So that's why we're going to have a personal conversation already, because you could, in the pregame, she's like, yeah, you can ask me anything. I'm like, I kind of got that sense.
Yeah. New York Jew. Let's go.
All right. So all right. So mom and dad, were they entrepreneurs, or were they go-getters, So
go-getters, yes. Entrepreneurs, no. And it's funny, this came up on a recent podcast where they were like, where did you even understand what entrepreneurship was? And I don't know the answer. I'm not sure where that influence came from. Both my parents, were in sort of traditional 9-to-5 jobs, but very successful in their careers. I definitely grew up in a house in which, being smart and being successful and being a go-getter was drilled into us as children. I mean, even in high school, we were allowed to have wild parties and basically do whatever we wanted as long as we had straight A's, right? That was sort of the rule, right? You had a job and you had straight A's, you could party, you could do whatever you want. Those are the things that are really important.
Right. That sounds familiar. So, so when did you really start to well, first of all, what was high school? I want to know, were you a good student always in high school?
So always a straight A student all through high school and all through college. And this does not normally come up in these podcast interviews, but here we are, total wild child. I mean, just drugs, in trouble all the time, just a wild free spirit that could not be contained by my parents. The concept of my house, my rules made me want to just burn something down. I needed to be free. So I was totally wild, would sneak out every single night of the week, always in trouble, and straight A's all the time.
You're one of those kids that, you see, I was the opposite. I was I got terrible grades, barely graduated high school.